So we are here looking at Lecha now, the Torah portion Lech, which is on page 11 of our Hevruta booklet. And remember, there are 4 things you need to do. The first is just read the section. It's like 4 pages, 3 or 4 pages. The second is select 2 or 3 teachings that stand out to you. You can select them from the summary, from the Gems of Torah, from the Midah section, or from the Mitzvah section, any one of the sections. You are not responsible for teaching the whole thing. Don't worry, these are just springboards. Then the third thing is 3 questions based on each teaching that you can ask to facilitate a conversation. And lastly, maybe a personal story, something that you can share of yourself to encourage the kids to also share personal stories. So on page 11, this is the Torah portion that introduces Abraham. But you can see in the summary that Abraham's name is Abram and Sarah's name is Sarai. So it's later in the Torah portion that their names are changed. Why are their names changed? You can ask the kids, do they know anyone who's ever changed a name? Why would someone change a name? In Judaism, sometimes people change their name if they're really sick because they think that maybe they can trick the fates, trick God to changing the decree. Maybe with a different name, they'll have a different outcome. But here we have Abram and Sarai, and Abraham is told, go forth from your land, leave your land, and go on this journey. Even that, if you were to talk to kids about what journeys have you gone on, and why is it important to go on a journey? What is the perspective that you get on your life that you might not be able to see from being at home? Sometimes we learn things about ourselves only when we go away, and we really have a different viewpoint. In the summary, it also mentions that Abraham defeats 4 kings to rescue his nephew. We don't always talk about Abraham as a great warrior. That might be interesting to ask kids. When you picture Abraham, what do you picture? Some might picture a man with a white beard. Does anybody picture, a muscle man, a great soldier, a general? In the Gems of Torah section, it starts with go for yourself, because the Hebrew for the beginning of this Torah portion says Lech, which literally translates as not go forth, but go towards yourself. So it's a funny verse, go toward yourself from your father's home. What does it mean to go to you? Why do you have to go away to arrive at yourself? Also, the Gems of Torah suggests that the most important thing that we're supposed to achieve is our own potential. You're not supposed to be as great as Moses or as great as Abraham or compare yourself to others. You're supposed to be the best Josh, Rachel, Sandy, Zoe, Jason, Bob, whoever you are, that's the person that the potential you're supposed to fulfill. In the next gem of Torah, it says, and I will bless them that bless you, and him that curses you, I will curse. The rabbis point out that the people who bless you in this verse, it's plural. I will bless all those people who bless you. And the one who curses you is singular. And the rabbis say this teaches us that we should have more people who like us than don't like us. We should work hard to be kind to a lot of people. So what are some of the ways that we can be kind? What do we do when someone doesn't like us? What are the steps that we can take to maybe heal that relationship? The next part says Abraham was very rich in cattle, silver, and gold. And the Hebrew word for rich is kaved, which means heavy. And something heavy is difficult to carry. And so there's an interesting conversations the rabbis have about what does it mean, how is wealth sometimes a burden? Sometimes when you have too much stuff, think about if you have so many toys, you have to clean your room all the time. And sometimes you have so many toys that you forget about the toys in the back of the closet. Your favorite doll might be buried under 1 million stuffed animals and you forget that you have that. But if you only had one doll, you might really appreciate that one thing so much. So what is important about simplicity? Some people say that if you take 100 things, it only makes you want 200 things, that it feeds discontentment, that we're not satisfied. So what does it mean that when materialism gets too heavy for us? The teachings also go on to say, on the verse, blessed be Abram of the Most High God, maker of heaven and earth, that God is referred to as maker of heaven and earth, one who makes heaven and earth instead of one who made heaven and earth in the past. In other words, every day God is recreating the world. This is where you might sing that Cat Stevens songs about morning has broken. No, you don't have to do that. But how is every new day a new opportunity? Maybe you have an example in your own life of a dream that you had, or some moment where you made a big change and felt like you could really start over. The next verse is actually my favorite verse, but we won't have time to go into it in a lot of detail. But when God takes Abraham outside to count the stars, it just makes me think of when I was a child and my father would take me into the field at night and we'd watch the shooting stars and the shower of Perseus. It was just so beautiful. Something so intimate about God putting God's arm around you and asking you to count the stars. And of course, we can't count the stars. And the verse says, this is how your offspring shall be. So what does that mean? Does it mean we'll have so many offspring that they'll be more numerous than the stars? Well, the Jewish people are pretty small, so it's not exactly true. Or does it mean that we will always strive for the impossible? We're going to try to do things like count the stars. The Midah section, Midah meaning virtue or a character trait, a building block for being a mensch, is loving kindness. Abraham is always associated with loving kindness. This is a section, if you were to, you might think about what are things that we do that are kind, that don't require any, that don't receive any thank you. You know, so people who save the whales, or who help animals, or help the earth, or send money to people who are in need, but anonymously. You don't receive a thank you for those things. And also, you could talk about what are the things that God does for us every day that we also don't say thank you to God for, like our very heartbeat, our breath. How do we show more loving kindness to others, not just for return for us, not just for how it benefits us, but because it's the right thing to do. So that's just a very brief tour of the material in Lech Lecha. There may be something here that I didn't talk about that touches you. Again, just pick 2 or 3 things that stand out to you. Make a list of questions based on those 2 or 3 teachings, and choose 1 or 2 personal stories, and you'll be ready to lead a wonderful conversation with these kids. Thank you.